Have you ever uncovered someone's secret plan to sabotage you, and how did you turn it around? The job interview trap. I was up for a promotion at work, and I had this coworker, Sarah, who was constantly trying to make me look bad. I started noticing little things, vague comments to my boss, subtle hints that I wasn't ready, and even someone mysteriously misplacing my project files. One day, I overheard her talking on the phone to a recruiter from a rival firm, dropping my name and framing me as unreliable. I realized she had been sabotaging my image to make herself look better. Instead of confronting her immediately, I carefully documented everything: emails, phone, timestamps, copies of misplaced files, and subtle inconsistencies in her claims. When the promotion announcement day came, I casually presented my documented evidence to HR, showing not only that I was competent, but that someone had been actively trying to undermine me. Sarah's smug smile completely disappeared. HR took it seriously, and I got the promotion while she had to explain her manipulations. Watching someone's secret sabotage collapse in a perfectly executed reveal, utter satisfaction. The apartment prankster. I had a neighbor, Tom, who was constantly trying to make me look like the messy, irresponsible tenant to our landlord. I noticed little things: items moving in my apartment, strange noises at night, and complaints about smells I didn't make. One night, I stayed up and set up a camera in the living room. The next week, I captured Tom sneaking into my apartment when I wasn't home, moving things around and leaving subtle traces to frame me. I immediately emailed the footage to the landlord, along with timestamps proving I hadn't been home. Tom's plan completely backfired. The landlord confronted him, and he looked utterly shocked when he realized his own sabotage had been recorded. Meanwhile, I maintained a spotless record with the landlord and even gained credibility for being proactive. Sometimes the most satisfying revenge is simply letting someone's plan collapse under their own arrogance. The wedding sabotage that wasn't. I had a friend, let's call her Becky, who secretly didn't like me and tried to ruin my wedding. I started noticing odd behavior: catering requests mysteriously forgotten, vendors canceling at the last minute, and invitations mysteriously misdirected. I followed up on everything meticulously and discovered that Becky had been calling vendors with false cancellations and altering the guest list. Instead of confronting her immediately, I created a plan. I secretly confirmed every vendor, made backup arrangements, and even set up a few fake errors to see if she would take the bait. On the wedding day, every detail went flawlessly. Becky tried to claim credit for fixing issues that didn't exist, and my friends and family were laughing at how her little schemes failed spectacularly. Watching someone's carefully crafted sabotage collapse while I calmly executed everything perfectly, nothing beats that satisfaction. The conference email trick. At a previous job, I had a coworker, Mark, who tried to sabotage my big presentation at a national conference. I noticed he had been forwarding misleading emails to clients, trying to confuse them about my topic and timing. Instead of panicking, I subtly intercepted and clarified each miscommunication with clients directly, using humor and professionalism to win them over. I even added little surprise elements in the presentation that showed my expertise. Mark thought he was undermining me, but every client actually complimented me afterward. When the conference ended, our boss pulled me aside and asked how I had handled the chaos so gracefully. Mark, of course, got caught, and I didn't even have to point fingers. Seeing his secret sabotage not only fail, but actually elevate me, pure karma. The group project setup. In college, I was part of a group project, and one team member, Lisa, tried to sabotage my contributions. She would hide my files, delete parts of my drafts, and even claim I hadn't done work I completed. I noticed her behavior early and secretly backed up every single file. I also created a private shared folder where every edit was timestamped. When she tried to submit the final version with missing sections and falsely claimed I hadn't done the work, I calmly revealed the timestamps and backups to the professor. Lisa looked horrified. I had all the proof needed, and my grades skyrocketed while she had to explain her sabotage attempts. Turning her secret plan against her without confrontation, just through careful observation and preparation, was one of the most satisfying moments of my academic life. The restaurant rival. I used to manage a small cafe, and a new hire, Jessica, seemed helpful at first. Over time, I realized she was secretly trying to make me look incompetent to the owner. She would misplace inventory, forget to record sales, and subtly alter orders. I didn't confront her immediately. Instead, I documented everything: receipts, video footage from the cameras, and detailed logs. Then I subtly let her continue her pattern for a week while I gathered all evidence. Finally, I scheduled a meeting with the owner, calmly presenting all the proof. Jessica tried to gaslight me during the meeting, claiming mistakes were mine, but the evidence was undeniable. She was reprimanded, and I was praised for my meticulous record-keeping. Watching her plan fail completely while I stayed calm and strategic was intensely satisfying. It taught me that patience and observation can turn sabotage into triumph. The promotion plot. At my previous company, my colleague Ian tried to sabotage me during a promotion cycle. He spread rumors that I missed deadlines and exaggerated minor mistakes. I started hearing whispers from coworkers and realized something was off. I quietly asked for copies of all project timelines, emails, and deliverables. Over weeks, I meticulously built a timeline proving I had completed everything on schedule. When the promotion discussion came up, I presented the evidence calmly, highlighting my achievements while the false claims were exposed. Ian tried to argue, but the truth was crystal clear. I got the promotion, and he faced disciplinary action for dishonesty. The slow realization on his face that his sabotage had been completely neutralized and that it actually backfired was unforgettable. The fake deadline. I had a college lab partner, Dave, who kept sabotaging my experiments. He'd forget to record data, switch samples, and claim I messed things up. I realized he had a secret plan to make me fail the course. Instead of confronting him, I began meticulously backing up everything and keeping detailed logs of experiments, times, and materials. Then, for the final project, I created a decoy setup that he could tamper with. Meanwhile, my actual project was perfectly executed. On presentation day, he tried to claim I had messed up the lab work, only for the professor to see the detailed logs and correctly completed project. Dave looked stunned while I quietly received top marks. The satisfaction of turning his sabotage into my advantage was incredible. The club election trick. I ran for a position in a student club, and one candidate, Melissa, secretly tried to sabotage my campaign. She spread fake messages claiming I was moving out of town, rigged meeting attendance records, and tried to discredit me quietly. I realized what she was doing and started documenting her efforts, screenshots, attendance sheets, and testimonies from members she misled. On the election day, I calmly presented my record, addressing the misinformation directly while highlighting my contributions to the club. Melissa tried to argue, but the members had all the proof I had gathered. I won the election, and she was left humiliated, realizing her sabotage had completely backfired. Turning someone's secret plan against them quietly while staying professional was immensely satisfying. The sabotaged manuscript. I had a fellow writer, Claire, who pretended to collaborate with me on a short story collection. Secretly, she tried to delete my chapters and mislead our publisher into thinking I hadn't submitted work. I realized her sabotage after noticing missing files and strange email activity. I immediately started backing up everything in multiple locations and even created a honey trap file, a decoy chapter she could tamper with without affecting the real work she went for it, thinking she had undermined me while my actual submission remained intact. The publisher loved the submitted work, praising me for quality and punctuality. Claire, on the other hand, was caught trying to manipulate files and lost credibility in the writing community. Watching her secret plan completely collapse while I quietly triumphed was one of the most satisfying experiences of my career. The housing board sabotage. I lived in a shared apartment, and one of my neighbors, Karen, had been secretly trying to make me look like the irresponsible tenant to our housing board. Complaints started piling up about noise, cleanliness, and late rent, all of which were false. I decided to start collecting proof, timestamps of rent payments, videos showing I wasn't making noise, and witness statements from other neighbors. I also started attending board meetings regularly to calmly address concerns. When Karen tried to make a formal complaint, I presented all the evidence I had gathered over months. The board immediately dismissed her accusations and warned her about false reporting. Karen's smug confidence evaporated, and my standing with the board and neighbors skyrocketed. Watching someone's secret plan crumble while I quietly proved the truth was exhilarating, a slow, meticulous victory that didn't require confrontation. The classroom cheater. In my senior year, I had a classmate, Ryan, who secretly tried to sabotage me academically. He would forget to pass me notes, switch my lab partner's assignments, and even spread rumors that I was cheating. I noticed inconsistencies and started keeping copies of all my work, logging every experiment and homework submission. I also discreetly recorded conversations and saved emails from Ryan. When the final grades were disputed, I presented my comprehensive evidence, clearly proving my integrity. Ryan looked shocked and embarrassed, and the professor acknowledged my diligence and professionalism. His sabotage had not only failed, but had also highlighted my carefulness and preparation. That slow unraveling of his plan, witnessed by the authority figures he had hoped to deceive, was deeply satisfying. The fundraiser fiasco. I volunteered for a charity fundraiser, and a fellow volunteer, Tanya, was secretly trying to sabotage my reputation by misreporting donations and claiming I mishandled money. She thought she could ruin my credibility in front of the organization. I started tracking every donation meticulously, creating a clear spreadsheet and saving confirmation emails. When the event came to a close, I calmly presented the records to the board, showing every contribution and clearing my name. Tanya tried to argue, but the evidence was irrefutable. The board praised my transparency and diligence, while Tanya faced scrutiny for her attempts at sabotage. Watching her carefully laid plan collapse while I calmly documented everything was deeply satisfying proof that meticulous preparation and patience can turn someone's secret scheme into your advantage. The social circle plot. I had a friend, Samantha, who secretly tried to isolate me from our friend group. She would subtly spread lies, invite people to events without telling me, and make it seem like I was being excluded. I noticed patterns and quietly documented every event and conversation. I also made efforts to strengthen relationships with everyone individually, sharing updates and being proactive about plans. When Samantha tried to confront me publicly, claiming I had been ignoring the group, I calmly presented my careful record of interactions and evidence of her manipulations. Her face went pale as everyone realized the truth, and she lost credibility with the group entirely. By quietly gathering proof and maintaining communication, I turned her secret plan against her without any drama, and it felt deeply satisfying. The backstabbing boss. At my previous job, my manager, Victor, tried to sabotage me by secretly leaking incomplete reports to upper management and claiming I was incompetent. He wanted me out of the team. I started documenting every project, creating detailed logs of my work, and CCing relevant team members in all critical emails. I even set up a personal archive of all files and versions. When Victor tried to present my work as flawed, I calmly presented my detailed logs and evidence of his own errors. Upper management quickly realized that he had misrepresented my performance. I was praised for my diligence, and Victor faced disciplinary action. Watching someone's carefully planned sabotage fail spectacularly because of preparation, patience, and strategic thinking was deeply satisfying, one of the most empowering moments of my professional life. The team lead trap. I was up for a team lead position at work, and one of my colleagues, Nina, secretly tried to sabotage my reputation by claiming I wasn't collaborative and spreading rumors about my management skills. I noticed subtle things: emails she forwarded with misleading summaries of my suggestions, exaggerated complaints to HR, and a few incidents she witnessed but twisted. I started meticulously documenting my work, every meeting note, every email thread, and every project milestone. When the selection process came, I calmly presented my documentation and even anticipated her claims, disproving them in advance. Nina's smug confidence completely crumbled, and I got the position. Watching her secret plan implode, all while I stayed professional and calculated, was unbelievably satisfying. The birthday party saboteur. I had a friend who secretly disliked me, and she tried to sabotage my surprise birthday party by telling people not to come and making fake excuses for others. I noticed patterns, friends canceling at the last-minute whispers of "you shouldn't go." Instead of panicking, I created a private group chat with everyone I trusted, double-checking RSVPs and confirming arrivals personally. I even set up backup entertainment and food just in case. The party ended up being incredible, and my saboteur friend ended up looking foolish, having spread rumors that fell flat. I quietly enjoyed seeing her smug attempts fail completely while everyone else had a blast. The financial trap. In college, I had a roommate, Dave, who secretly tried to make me look financially irresponsible to our landlord. He forged late rent notices and even tried to convince the landlord I wasn't paying utilities. I immediately gathered proof, receipts, bank statements, and screenshots of all payments. I also started logging utilities usage and payments meticulously. When the landlord confronted me about the claims, I calmly presented all the evidence, clearly proving my responsibility and Dave's attempts at sabotage. He was caught red-handed, and I gained the landlord's full trust. The slow realization on his face that his secret plan had backfired entirely was the kind of satisfaction that can't be replicated. The conference sabotage. I was attending a professional conference, and a fellow attendee, Mark, tried to sabotage my reputation by spreading rumors that I had plagiarized my presentation. I noticed he was whispering to multiple attendees and subtly altering program schedules to make me look disorganized. I carefully documented every interaction, kept emails, and even recorded my preparation process. During the presentation, I referenced my meticulous notes and highlighted unique insights that no one could have plagiarized. Attendees immediately noticed Mark's lies, and he was called out by a few colleagues. The humiliation he felt while I received praise for my work was beyond satisfying. His secret plan had completely backfired. The volunteer saboteur. I volunteered at a local charity, and one of the coordinators, Linda, secretly tried to sabotage my position by claiming I mishandled schedules and misled donors. I noticed emails she sent with falsified claims and subtle changes to the roster I had created. Instead of confronting her immediately, I meticulously documented every interaction, kept screenshots of schedules, and maintained records of donor communications. When Linda presented her evidence, I calmly laid out my complete records to the director. The truth became obvious, and she faced repercussions for her sabotage attempts. Meanwhile, I gained credibility and respect within the organization. Watching her secret plot collapse quietly but completely was deeply satisfying. The gym rival. I joined a local gym, and there was this guy, Derek, who seemed friendly but was secretly trying to make me look weak and inexperienced. He'd accidentally mess with my workout equipment, give wrong advice to trainers about my progress, and even subtly suggest I wasn't capable of lifting certain weights. I noticed his pattern and started quietly recording my workouts, tracking progress meticulously and documenting every interaction. Over a month, I improved steadily and even posted updates in the gym's member group, highlighting milestones with video evidence. Derek's attempts to sabotage me completely failed. During a gym competition, he tried to embarrass me, but I outperformed him in every event, backed by months of tracked progress. The satisfaction of seeing him realize his secret efforts had not only failed, but actually showcased my strength and dedication was incredible. The community election. I ran for a position in a local community committee, and my main competitor, Samantha, was secretly trying to sabotage my campaign. She spread misinformation about my plans and even tried to intercept emails from supporters. I quietly started documenting every interaction, keeping copies of emails, and personally confirming support from community members. On election day, she tried to claim that some supporters had withdrawn, but I calmly presented the evidence, showing not only intact support, but also exposing her manipulative tactics. Samantha was stunned, and I won the election handily. Watching her carefully crafted sabotage implode while I remained professional and prepared was deeply satisfying. The slow unveiling of her secret plan was perfect. The freelance client. I had a freelance client, Thomas, who secretly tried to sabotage my work reputation by telling other potential clients I was unreliable. I noticed subtle patterns: missed replies he claimed I hadn't sent, misattributed emails, and vague negative hints during conversations. Instead of confronting him immediately, I started keeping meticulous logs of every project, every correspondence, and every delivered draft with timestamps. When a new client questioned me, I calmly showed the documented evidence of my professionalism. Thomas's attempts to ruin my reputation completely backfired. New clients trusted me more, and his credibility suffered when his lies were exposed. Seeing a sabotage plan collapse through careful documentation and patience felt utterly rewarding. The book club backstab. I was part of a book club, and a member, Lucy, secretly tried to sabotage me by spreading false rumors about my reading habits, claiming I hadn't read assigned books and was too lazy to participate. I started keeping a reading journal, noting discussion points, quotes, and even annotated chapters. During meetings, I subtly referenced my notes and asked insightful questions, showcasing not only my preparation, but also exposing inconsistencies in Lucy's claims. By the end of the month, club members had noticed her exaggerations and misinformation, and I had built a reputation as the thoughtful and reliable participant. Watching her secret attempts to undermine me fail so publicly but gracefully was immensely satisfying. The secret saboteur at work. At my previous company, a coworker, Greg, secretly tried to sabotage my projects by altering minor details, misreporting timelines, and framing me for missed deadlines. I started noticing small discrepancies and decided to investigate carefully. I documented everything, including emails, project files, and changes made to shared documents. I even created backups and kept logs of edits with timestamps. When Greg tried to blame me for a major project delay, I calmly presented the evidence to management, clearly showing his manipulations and highlighting my accurate work. Greg's shock and embarrassment were palpable, and I received praise for both professionalism and thoroughness. Turning his secret sabotage into a complete and undeniable victory was deeply satisfying. Patience, observation, and preparation had won the day. The college group sabotage. During my senior year, I was part of a crucial group project, and one of my teammates, Alex, secretly tried to sabotage me. He would forget to include my contributions in the shared document, claim my sections were incomplete, and even whispered to the professor that I was slacking. I realized his pattern early and started keeping meticulous copies of every draft, emails with timestamps, and even screenshots of our group chats. I quietly compiled everything over weeks while continuing to contribute flawlessly. When the final submission came, Alex tried to downplay my efforts in front of the professor. I calmly presented the evidence drafts, emails, and screenshots proving my full participation and exposing his manipulations. The professor was impressed by my diligence and awarded me full credit while Alex was left scrambling and embarrassed. Turning his secret sabotage into a professional win was exhilarating. The networking backstab. At my first professional conference, I met a senior professional, Carla, who seemed friendly but was secretly trying to ruin my networking opportunities. She whispered misinformation to key industry contacts, subtly discouraging them from talking to me. I realized something was off when people I approached referenced things I hadn't said. I started documenting each interaction and sending follow-up emails confirming details with contacts. By the end of the conference, I had cultivated strong relationships while Carla's attempts were exposed by the very same people she tried to manipulate. Watching someone's hidden sabotage collapse quietly as I built my own professional reputation was thrilling. The slow unraveling of her influence was pure satisfaction. The hidden competition. I had a coworker, Ben, who secretly tried to make me fail a major client pitch. He spread misinformation, altered slides in our shared deck, and even pretended to support me while subtly sabotaging my talking points. I noticed discrepancies and started keeping meticulous backups of my slides, creating parallel versions of the deck, and recording every rehearsal session. On pitch day, I presented my version flawlessly. While Ben's subtle sabotage became apparent, clients noticed inconsistencies he couldn't explain. By the end, I secured the deal, and Ben's credibility took a hit. Seeing his carefully laid plan collapse while I quietly anticipated it was one of the most satisfying professional victories of my life. The library prank turned advantage. In college, a student, Chloe, secretly tried to make me look forgetful in the library. She would move my notes, misplace books I was using, and subtly convince others I was unprepared. I decided to quietly set up a system. Labeled binders, meticulous backups of notes, and a log of everything she moved. I also started leaving decoy notes in places she could tamper with. Chloe thought she was sabotaging me, but when a group study session occurred, my preparation was flawless, and she was caught moving the decoy notes in front of others. Her secret sabotage turned into a public embarrassment while I gained credibility with the group. Patience, observation, and creativity had completely flipped the script. The secret volunteer plot. I volunteered at a local community program, and another volunteer, Sam, secretly tried to make me look lazy and incompetent. He would alter schedules, misattribute work I completed, and subtly mislead the coordinators. I quietly documented every task I did, backed up emails, and even recorded schedules and times. When a coordinator confronted me about missing work, I calmly presented the evidence, showing Sam's manipulations clearly. He tried to argue but had no proof, and I gained recognition for my diligence. Watching his secret sabotage backfire while I quietly proved the truth was incredibly satisfying. It reinforced the value of meticulous documentation and patience in turning someone's scheme against them. It all started with what I thought was a routine promotion cycle at my company. I'd been grinding for 2 years in middle management, and this was my shot at a real leadership role. My colleague, Vanessa, had always been friendly, maybe too friendly, always offering helpful advice and tips on presentations or meetings. I never suspected anything until things started going sideways. First, it was small spreadsheets showing numbers that didn't match the source data. Reports I swore I had double-checked mysteriously missing slides from my presentations. At first, I blamed myself. I had been under a ton of stress working 14-hour days, and maybe I'd messed up. But then I noticed a pattern every time I ran into an error. Vanessa was suspiciously absent for a while, only to pop up later with a little smirk that I now recognize as predatory. The real wake-up call came during a quarterly meeting with the executives. I had spent weeks preparing a presentation that would show my team's performance improvements, literally the culmination of years of effort. I log in, and the charts are wrong, the numbers don't add up. The formatting is completely off. It's embarrassing, and everyone notices I almost had a heart attack. But then, in a rare moment of clarity, I remembered something Vanessa had helped me compile the final version last night. And she had left her laptop plugged in next to mine while she went to a meeting. I realized someone had tampered with my files. My first instinct was rage, but I took a deep breath and decided I wasn't going to make the same mistake she wanted me to make. Panic. I immediately called IT under the guise of a technical emergency. They pulled backups, and I quietly restored the files to the correct versions faster than anyone could notice. I delivered the presentation perfectly. Executives nodded. Impressed Vanessa was in the room trying to hide a tiny frustrated twitch. After that, I started documenting everything. Every coincidence, every piece of suspicious behavior, every tiny error that seemed to benefit her somehow. I even installed monitoring on shared folders to track access just in case it was tedious and exhausting. But I felt like a detective in my own life. Then came the strategic part. I let her sabotage continue for a week, but carefully. Every time she tried something, I countered quietly and documented it. I made it look like I was struggling just enough to bait her into thinking she was winning. And she fell for it. She made mistakes, blatant ones, thinking I hadn't noticed while I quietly collected all the proof I needed. Finally, I presented the evidence to HR and our manager. Every altered file, every manipulated report, every misleading comment was recorded. HR was shocked. Vanessa hadn't even realized she was being watched, and my documentation was airtight. They called her in and she couldn't deny it. She tried to spin it, but the evidence spoke for itself. The icing on the cake. My team's performance metrics were untouched. My presentation had gone flawlessly, and I got promoted shortly after Vanessa was reassigned to a different department with minimal influence, and everyone knew not to mess with me again. The weirdest part, I didn't even feel vindictive. The satisfaction came from being calm, precise, and methodical. I had turned what could have been a disaster into a triumph, all because I stayed patient, observed carefully, and let her own actions reveal the truth. It wasn't messy, it wasn't public humiliation, it was strategy. And the moment I realized I could control the outcome, even when someone actively tried to sabotage me, was empowering in a way I can't even describe. I still run into Vanessa sometimes. She looks at me differently now, not with malice, but with a little respect she can't quite articulate. And I smile because I don't need to say a word. The results speak for themselves.